Well, welcome to another episode of Off the Fence.
Off the Fence.
Katy, I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, good. My name is David.
Are you going to make it weird? We were just talking before we started because my contacts are doing a funny thing. So I just might go like this the whole time.
Please do that.
I've started to carry around my glasses with me all of the time, but I don't want to be a quitter and take them out just yet. So
Just close one eye and I'll call you Pirate Katy.
Oh, that's not nice to pirates. I don't think they would accept me as one of their own. I like bright colors.
All right,
too
let
much.
me lay out the subject matter for today. All right.
We don't just get to ramble.
I don't know that people want to. I don't know. I have, like I've told you before, have been into watching TED Talks. They just get conversations going, and there's one called "Are You a Giver or a Taker?" And the reason I liked it because I'm thinking, I bet most people think they're givers.
We all assume the best about ourselves and often the worst about others. Bless our hearts.
So again, this, like a lot of TED Talks involves a research project and things like that. But so of course there's giver and takers. We often break life into that. Like, are you one or the other? And so I wanted to talk about this too. Maybe this week's episode can be, help someone go at worst case scenario processing only. Am I a giver or a taker? But I think we can go a little bit deeper than that. But
Let's.
all righty then. So a survey was done, 30,000 people. Pirate Katy. 30,000 people surveyed. And here's how the percentages broke down. 19% identified and when they did the survey came out as takers.
And this is them sharing about themselves.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm really proud of them, though, for being willing to admit it.
Well, I don't know if they admitted they were a taker. The questions the way they answered the questions identified them as takers. So 19%,
well,
which
still proud,
is interesting. I mean, that's not a big number, but 19% takers. But what's crazy is 25% givers. So if you're good at math right now, we have a problem. 19% takers, 25% givers. And what they found in the survey is that life is not near as simple as just saying there's givers and there's takers. 56% classified as, and they found this called matchers. Matchers are people who try to keep a balance of give and take.
Oh, man.
And so when they were filling out the questions, if I'll do something for you if you do something for me. And apparently 56% are this give or take, scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of way of living.
Or there are people like me who have a guilt complex where if I'm helped, now I have to, I can't accept which is it's not great. But I love the term matchers though, because it does provide kind of a balance from just giver or take. No, because life is fluid and there's an ebb and flow. That's a lot to keep track of on top of everything we're all already keeping track of in life, though.
Sure.
So I'm excited to talk about this to find ways to not have to overanalyze it so much.
We start off with, are you a giver, a taker? But now we got, are you a giver, taker, or matcher?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is what they learned in the survey, but even beyond as they begin to ask people more and more and more. I'm going to tell you some things about givers. Givers... Sorry, I'm laughing just because givers...
I can't even see it right now. So
givers, they got the least amount of work done. If you're a giver and you're feeling really proud of yourself, according to more of the studies when they got into these corporations and businesses and all this, that they were the people getting the least amount of their work done. But let me tell you why. And this is what a giver already knows. Because they're helping do everyone else's work.
They're cleaning up in the break room. They're putting the paper towels all over the sinks in the bathroom, getting the water swept up and picking up the trash.
Yep.
Poor things.
They went into in the survey, talked to medical school people and found out givers, takers, matchers. In medical school, the lowest grades belong to the students who agreed with the statement, I love helping others. So sorry, medical school. Think about why you're going to be a doctor or why you're going to be a nurse or whatever. Like medical school, you're going there, and if you answered, "I love helping others. That's why I want to do this," most likely you fall into the area of you got the worst grades. Isn't that exciting?
But everybody around you feels really loved.
It really helps me feel better about my schooling because I got bad grades.
Were you a giver?
Nope.
So you would have blown this out of the water. You would have shifted all the percentages.
They studied salespeople. Mm-hmm. The lowest revenue accrued are the most generous salespeople.
Give you a discount or give Bob over there. He's not sold a car for a while. Let him have this sale.
So they even asked like, hey, and their answer, here's what they said as their answer. I care so much about our customers that I would never sell them one of our crappy products. That was the statement.
So there's like this dichotomy then between, do we want a really loving culture that maybe has less production or do we want a really selfish culture, but like our numbers are up? That's I think businesses every organization has to make those decisions.
That's why it's an interesting quandary. Because you could say, I want to be a giver. I want everyone around me to be a giver. And I definitely don't want to be a taker. Mm-hmm. Or it's just not as simple as that. I remember I used to sell shoes. I worked for Finish Line. And they would coach us on, of course, how to sell stuff. And so, of course, our job was to try to sell shoes. So we would sell someone shoes, but that's not what they really wanted us to do. Is they wanted us to upsell people, meaning, hey,
accessories.
Right. And the main accessory they wanted us to sell was shoelaces. And part of me is like, they're getting brand new shoelaces.
But the margin on those is probably pretty great.
It was fantastic for the company.
Because what do they cost? 3 cents to make, and then you sell them for $15.
In addition to that, sometimes you would sell shoes that would come with 2 different sets of shoelaces already.
Why not throw in a third?
And so I would be like, I'm not going to sell you more shoelaces for these brand new shoes that have brand new shoelaces.
I would think it would be socks, unless Finish Line owned the shoelaces.
Oh, they wanted us to sell socks too, but shoelaces were like, you want this to keep going. I'm like, man, lie.
You would have loved me because I'm like the person with all of this stuff at the cash register, the gum and the candies and the toys and the chapstick. That's my place. It's for dummies like me that are like, ooh, look at all of these accessories. Look at all of these things.
Let's summarize real quick.
Yeah.
Are you a giver, a taker, or a matcher? And statistically, medical school, sales, we begin to understand that if you are a giver, according to that, you're a worse student, you're a worse salesperson. And so you begin to wonder, like, see, this is why I would never want to be a giver. However, it is proven in their studies that the evidence says that givers still make your organization better. So a lot of times, I think in work, we use metrics, right?
Yeah.
Where what did you sell? What are costs? Who did you do intake on?
What was your output?
What's your all that kind of stuff. But what they have learned in this study is that just because givers aren't going to be typically your number one salesperson, your valedictorian, your top achiever, they make your organization better, which means it becomes so crucial that you have givers in your world.
Yep.
Right. So
and that you don't burn them out. You don't make them regret being giver.
Yeah. And so regarding performance wise, they actually revealed this, and you could watch this TED Talk. Takers are actually not the best performers long term. And what they said is in here, they rise quickly, but they fall quickly. So if you're a taker, that you might have this season of like exceptional wealth, but then apparently over time fall off quickly. And so you end up just struggling. Matchers are not the best performers long term. Givers are actually the best performers. Even though they don't personally achieve, they help the organization achieve, which means they're the best performers. It's an interesting thing that we don't look at, that if you're a giver or a taker or a matcher, what's good for you? What if you just said this was for your family, right? You're like, what do we do? Is it all about being get, achieve, achieve, or is it give, only invest in other people's lives, pour out? And so what they learned was this, very simple, is that what you want in your organization is you want givers and you want matchers. Takers, I mean, come on, seriously.
Well, they'll go to the next thing.
Yeah.
They'll self-select out usually.
So you want givers and you want matchers because matchers, think of the word, they match the behavior and culture of those around them. So if you have givers, it's okay to have, I'm going to use round numbers, 15% givers, 85% matchers, because matchers are going to say, oh, that's what's the culture of this places I'm working at, or that's the culture of my family. And you begin to have a whole group of people lifting each other up.
Because sustainably speaking, somebody that's looking out for the interests of others and making those things matter, that's a heart condition. That's a condition of the heart. That's not just you're not climbing over people to get up the ladder and taking what you can. It's a whole way of living and thinking that's actually heart postured. And so it is more sustainable because you're walking in a way that's contributing and caring. And I think that just long-term is way better than relying on what people are giving you or what they'll do for you. And so I love that.
Think about this in Scripture. It begins to be like, yes, this is exactly what Jesus taught over and over and over. When he literally draws the disciples' attention onto the widow who just gave everything that she had to the church. And you're thinking, that's ludicrous. That's, in South Dakota terms, that's irresponsible of her. How is she going to eat tomorrow? Because I think Jesus is thinking that givers raise matchers up.
Yeah.
And I think he's talking to his disciples as though they're matchers and say, you see what she just did? She just did the most incredible thing. She gave all that she had. And it's a profound lesson. Think about marriage, this covenant that it's not a 50-50 thing. That's a matching thing.
Yeah.
It's
Each gives
no
100.
give.
Yeah.
Because if you both can become givers, you thrive. The relationship gets better. The organization gets better. Everything gets better. It's a profound thing.
For sure.
That's why I think if you're listening right now and you're trying to give or take or match, or you should want to be a giver. Now, with that said, there's some wisdom. Let's talk about being a giver.
Yeah.
Because you can do this wrong, I should say, right? You can be a giver in unhealthy, unsustainable ways. So if you have givers around you, let's just pretend like none of us are givers and we just have givers around us. This TED Talk, he went into some detail. Givers, they need to be protected from burnout.
Yeah.
So if you have, let's say you work with one, you're married to one, or you have a kid that's one, a friend that's one, you need to know that if you right now, when I say, do you have any givers in your life? And you're like, yep, I got so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. You're a giver. And I know that I've had to try to help you not be burnt out.
Yes.
Because you're
emotionally, financially.
Yeah, you're a giver.
And even relationally.
So this is both ways. If you're a giver, if you're not receiving burnout wisdom from someone else, then you're going to burn out and you're not going to be, you're going to interface where you can't give, which defeats your heart. And
I would say too, because givers are lifting, it actually ends up hurting the circles of places that they're influencing too. Because there's a TV show, we won't go into it, but this guy was behind the scenes, like watering all the plants and staying late to take care of all the things. And then he left and they were like, why are all the plants dying? And why is the trash never taken out? He was doing all of this stuff that nobody knew that he was doing, and lifting the organization, but got burnt out. And I think that there's, I think that there's wisdom in, like, I want to take care of myself and have people that help me take care of myself, because if I don't, then I do end up hurting the very thing I'm trying to bless and benefit. That's so true. And you do a good job of helping me.
If you're a giver, burnout is going to be an issue. If you have people around you who are givers, pay attention to their level of burnout.
Yeah.
That's just a warning that you want givers. You want to be a giver. I want to be a giver.
Yeah.
I want to be around givers. That means burnout needs to be one of our things that we talk about.
For sure.
Okay. So second, givers encourage help seeking. Successful givers understand receiving is good. So, the guy did a study. With nurses.
Yeah.
Just think about the nature of the job of a nurse. Give. The factor that created help seeking, where nurses would actually ask for help, was there was one nurse on the floor solely responsible. Their sole job was to help other nurses on the unit. So you had nurses helping patients, but you had nurses helping nurses.
A caregiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with givers, you need to encourage a giver to learn the discipline of asking for help, of seeking help, of being okay with help. Help is not a weakness.
No, but I do think that one of the traps that givers can fall into is the trap of pride, where it starts really authentically and it's a genuine desire to take care of others and bless others, but it can become this, nobody can do it like I can. And nobody is, as thoughtful or as generous or whatever. And those are lies. But you buy into this idea that then, oh no, then you can't be a burden to anybody else, or you can't, when you don't think the people that you're helping are a burden, but for some reason we twist and tie. And so I love that too, because then I would say, well, if they're already paying for somebody to take care of us, then I would lean in and go, oh, that's your job. I'm going to let you help me. I love that.
So another one, givers, you need to get the right people on the bus. It matters to givers. So givers are aware of those who are taking. They're highly aware of it. And takers are usually taking advantage of.
Yeah.
And so if you influence the people in your workplace or in your home, let's say you've got someone in your home who is a taker, it's defeating. So one of the things to pay attention to is, if you want a culture of giving, if you want those kinds of people around, making sure that you've got the right people on the right bus, that you're addressing, you're literally bringing up where advantage is being taken up, like where you're going, you're using this too much, you're not investing, you're not pouring in, you're not giving any time. It's not about equality.
No.
It's about just like
awareness,
like
it's
making
really
sure you address it.
Yeah.
I've seen this as a boss, that in the past, if I've let things just go too long, I'm really, really, really not just letting something go too far with a taker. The givers are losing trust in me.
They get defeated. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's important if you want a culture of giving that you address the taking is what, which is obvious, but so giving and taking. So here are some important questions to process. What are your values? As a family, you should know your values. If you lead a church, you should know your values. If you lead a business, school, what are your values? Because if you know your values, you now begin to understand what you're giving to, how to give, and also what consuming looks like, if you know that. And then what are your intentions with others? Very
and I would say equal. I think for a lot of people, we'd go, oh yeah, those takers better answer that. But I think for givers, do I have honest expectations? Like, am I being honest about my expectations with the giving I'm doing?
Sure.
Again, I think that's because it's a trap that can be so easy to fall into. So I love that. I love those questions, and I think they're equally important for both givers and takers for sure.
So he talked about in this profound interview catch. So if you've ever interviewed someone for a job, you learn very quickly that it is far more difficult than you think it will be, putting together the right team. When you ask people questions, oftentimes we give each other our best answers.
Yeah. And we assume the best about ourselves. We're so good at that, which not that we shouldn't, but.
My own coach tells us when we meet with him that he tries to stay out of the interview process because he couldn't help interview someone and spend the whole time selling them on the church that he's at, where he couldn't help but say, trying to help them understand that working at this church would be great for them. And but it would hurt the interview because it was like, we got to learn about this person.
Yeah.
So here's a key interview catch that they learned. And I thought, I just love this. Here's a question. So if you taking notes, take note on this one. Can you give me the names of 4 people whose career you have fundamentally improved? Can you give me the names of 4 people whose career you have fundamentally improved? Now, what he says in this is the takers will give you 4 names of people who are more influential and higher ranking than they are.
Yeah.
And the takers will tell you how they elevated these people and really helped the people above them achieve well. The givers will give you 4 names of people below them. And because hierarchy is not that big of a deal to the giver. And they'll tell you how they were able to help people who couldn't really even help back. And they say that you can learn a lot about someone by how they treat the restaurant server, their Uber driver, or just the person across from them. Where there's a transaction occurring, you can learn a lot about someone and how they treat people. And they learn that givers aren't trying to get this foot up, this go up the ladder. And I thought, oh, that's so. When I'm thinking about not just whose life am I improving, why am I trying to improve their life?
I think, so we were talking about this the other day, but I had a principal, my first principal, amazing. He's an amazing man. He's still involved in education, but some of the things when we were onboarding into the school to become teachers, the 2 rules that he had were park the farthest away from the building as you possibly can. And the second one, just because leave spaces for other people. The second one, though, was support staff, custodial staff. If you do anything to disrespect them or dishonor them, we're going to have problems. And I remember the urgency of not only knowing their names, but like have your kids put the chairs on the desks before they leave for the day. Just bless them. They're not these they are behind the scenes people, but that doesn't mean that we treat them like behind the scenes people. They're part of the team and we can't do what we do without them. So the ladies in the lunchroom, the custodians, and just the people behind the scenes, make sure that you are intentionally taking care of them, because it's so funny as I'm reading this, he wanted us to be a culture of givers. And so that was my first job out of the gate from college. And I still to this day am influenced by that leadership. And I'm so grateful for it. So
there's so much hypocrisy in how we treat people, because we'll treat some people like they matter and some people like they don't matter. But with the hypocrisy in it is, let's say you treat the cashier like they don't matter, when by default you just utilize them in a way that mattered to you. You're there, you're purchasing something. You're not going to leave the store without utilizing them, which makes them necessary and needed in your life. And so it's always, I share this with leaders, where if you treat someone on your team like they don't matter, you're an idiot. Because you've hired someone that you don't think matters, which makes you just a bad leader. Like why would you have someone on your team?
It doesn't really impact them.
Why would you have someone on your team that doesn't matter? And so that just means you overhired. So, and we always say, well, I do need that person. Right. So treat them like treat them, give. So for us to be a society of givers, which I think I'm going to assume the best that we all say, yes, we should be that kind of group. One, we got to treat people like they matter. But also we have to take care of each other. In a sense, so that we can give and continue doing it in a sustainable way. A quote, I think I'll finish our time with this on this. Success is more about contribution than competition. And contribution, it's one of the lessons I think I've enjoyed learning, is one of the joys in life is where there's collaboration and contribution amongst multiple people.
For sure.
It's not just about number one or being the only voice, being the only, I love it. And I want to be around givers.
Yeah.
So I want to be one. I don't know. It was a challenging TED Talk because I want to be a giver. I naturally would value that, but I don't always do that like I ought to. So if you're a giver, you're probably going to want to share this podcast with everybody. If you're a taker, come on. And if you're a matcher, pay attention. Pay attention to what you're matching.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
That's awesome.
We love you very, very much. Till next time. Peace out.
I keep wanting to say you're dismissed. We're not going to do that though.
Class, you are
But
dismissed.
I love you.